All right, welcome to our week 3 go-to training. We're going to go ahead and get started with this week's session. Today we're going to be talking about critical thinking and the value of play. So I just wanted to take a moment to say thank you to our attendees for carving out that time to come and meet with us. As a friendly reminder, we'll go ahead and save some time for questions at the end that maybe come up along the way or that you have on the reading, as well as take some time to go over any of the activities that are due this week for you as well. So this week, if you've tuned in previous weeks, you know that I've been aiming to build our weekly sessions in a web tool. And so this week, I thought it would be really good to showcase Pinterest for anyone that's not played around with Pinterest before in the past. And this is a really great web tool with regard to completing the writings on the wall challenge assignment that we have this week. We ask for 10 pins, and you're working through autonomy, mastery, and purpose. And so we suggest using Pinterest for that challenge project. So this is what I'm going to go ahead and use for our slides, if you will, today, as far as our session is concerned. So as a friendly reminder, we don't have the time to go over all of our material, of course, so definitely refer back to your playbook. And for those of you who are watching the recording on our YouTube channel, please remember to find the links that I refer to in our material section here in the live GTT in the description portion below the YouTube archive when you're watching it on our channel. Okay, so my first pin here is our session blueprint, as I've coined it this week. At this point, we are already in week 3, so we're more than halfway through the course. This Sunday, of course, the deadlines for the week 3 activities, and then we'll be rolling into our final week next week. And I can't believe that the class is more than half over at this point. It just goes so fast. So we have considered in our learnings about play so far how play affects us individually, and we've also talked about our play histories and our play personalities, how play affects our brain and our flow, and then our creativity, among other ways. So now we're ready to take a look at what happens when we use these strategies on a larger scale. So as I mentioned at the beginning, today we'll be talking about critical thinking and the value of play in society. So I've outlined, and you'll notice on my pins that I've added some captions below each one as far as some notes on what I'll be speaking about in regards to that image or that pin. And you can find that down here. I've gone ahead and added that. So just for reference as we're moving through the pins during our session. So we are going to take a look at play and relationships and mixing work and play, the importance of play in critical and creative thinking, role models, motivation, some self-determination theory, as well as some gamification and fun theory. One thing you'll notice is that when you are using Pinterest for your writings on the wall project, if you're choosing that, bear with me a little bit. One thing I noticed in building the images or the slides this week is that the pins are sort of mixed up all over my board, so they're not necessarily in the order that I pinned them. So definitely just bear with me. I want to make sure that I bring up the correct pin. So in relation to your project, you'll be writing everything that you'll want to relay to me in your project under your pin. So ideally, it will be okay that they're all mixed up for the sake of your project. They wouldn't necessarily have to be in a particular order. So it's helpful to know definitely what is trending in our society with what employers are looking for in potential hires, right? We definitely want to know what companies are looking for when they're looking at candidates. So employers are looking for candidates to be playful, because being able to let loose a bit and interact on different levels with colleagues brings about many benefits. We will talk about these benefits of play and the breaks during your workday. So I want you to think about how cool it would be to be involved in a company, be involved in a work environment to where maybe you have exercise breaks at work, you're able to take time out for video games, you can go grab a free snack, or like some of you, you may have heard of of riding a scooter around Google. I use the image of Google in the background right there, or hop on the climbing wall at Twitter. So those are just some things that some companies are doing to bring a sense of playfulness to the work environment. That way things are there and readily available for employees to use when they're feeling like they need to take a break, perhaps in between switching tasks, or when they're really at sort of like a creative standpoint or having a creative block. Okay, so the supreme accomplishment is to blur the line between work and play. So when we blur the line between work and play, mixing the two together, work does not always have to feel like work, right? That's what we've been learning about, how to engage in, more fun activities. What do we define that as? What are our play personalities? There are emerging trends using video games to motivate employees by awarding virtual badges and unlocking different levels, for instance. So what employers are finding is an increase in job satisfaction and employee morale, as well as innovative ideas and creative problem solving. Employers make sure to not reward employees with meaningless badges. They want to reward those desired behaviors, so to speak. So to set some healthy boundaries, employers are making sure that competition remains friendly amongst colleagues and doesn't get out of hand to lead to any type of animosity, for instance. So with this type of gamification, turning daily tasks and to-do items into some type of game, we'll go into that a little bit more, they are finding it drives employees' performance. And lastly, an important note is that this strategy will not make up for poor management styles. That's something that I always like to highlight. So for those that are attending the live session, and for those of you listening to the archive, I want you to think about, do you take breaks throughout your day and your week to engage in some fun and try to loosen any tension that you might be feeling from your responsibilities and obligations? So sometimes, just like we've talked about, different hobbies and things that we get involved in that we define as fun, that we're able to, kind of relax with or find our flow with. I just want you to think about even sometimes the smallest breaks, getting up, taking that computer break when you're working on something, sort of switching things up in our routine, all of those things that we would consider a break that sort of helps us to refocus and refresh. So when you take these breaks, have you ever noticed an ability to maybe think outside the box? And if you do, that's the point, is to rejuvenate it a bit. But if you don't, then I definitely want you to think about why, why not? Why aren't you able to sort of feel refreshed or rejuvenated, or, come back to what you were doing and be able to, gauge a solution to the problem, so to speak, depending what you were working on. So let's take a look further at some of the benefits of play at work. And I'll read through these since my image is a little bit large for the screen. I'll go ahead and read through what I have posted at the bottom, and then that way you're able to take a look at the image. So as far as some of the benefits of play at work, it definitely keeps you functional under stress and refreshes your mind and body, and also encourages teamwork and helps you to solve problems in new ways. Another thing that I like to highlight is the trigger for creativity and innovation, and increasing our energy and preventing burnouts or fatigue. So the benefits are endless, really, because some of the most innovative and creative strategies can come from employee downtime, or think about mini breaks in between tasks. So I also like to highlight the area of company retention here. It's shown that having fun at work and being able to do things such as play a game of ping pong with a colleague increases employee retention, especially amongst millennials, whereas senior staff display resistance to fun type of work environments, thinking that their job might be on the line, so to speak, if they're caught taking a break, from their job to engage in some type of play or some type of fun. So we have an extremely talented but fairly younger workforce coming up, right? And it's been shown that they expect more than, say, what the demands have been from senior staff back when they joined the workforce, and so millennials are expecting more than, say, just a chair and a desk. That's not going to cover it for the basics for them anymore. So I will say, just as I mentioned previously regarding play not being a remedy for poor management, it takes management to show that it is required to play and take breaks. So sort of that top-down method for it to really work, right? So depending what level we're on, if we see upper management and senior staff, if we see people engaging in play, especially depending on how new we are to a company or an organization, we're going to go by what is being modeled around us and role modeled. So that really has to filter from the top down, so that way it really becomes a part of that organization's culture. So management needs to change that perception of play at work to a healthy one and sort of build a bridge to merge the relationships. So remaining playful helps us to develop and improve our social skills, as well as teaches us how to incorporate and cooperate with others. So this can definitely come in handy when we're working with colleagues and we're working on projects and working in teams, right? Mutual play can also help to heal emotional wounds. So Jet Propulsion Lab, or JPL, it is Caltech's lab. They found it difficult to give sort of an example here as far as an organization is concerned. They found it difficult to find young engineers of the same caliber as those that had retired from their company or from their corporation. So after interviewing retired engineers, they realized that the retirees had actually engaged in various forms of analytical play that had resulted in their brilliant performance and their careers as engineers. So today, what that company does, what JPL does, is they interview their interview questions, including the type of play that applicants engaged in during their youth. Another great example of this is within the music industry, is Sony Music. Their intern recruiters ask about the most creative project the interviewee has ever made. What are they looking for? They're looking for that out-of-the-box thinking, of course, right, when it comes to hiring new candidates. So this is an image that I found of Walt Disney. Walt Disney, for instance, is a fabulous example of an individual who worked from a creative thinking standpoint. He was a dreamer of all things possible, censoring nothing really. Imagineering being imagination plus engineering. So Walt Disney was also a realist, as he would figure out how to make ideas work. Another attribute was his ability to critique, playing devil's advocate, so to speak, with regard to what could make an idea or an invention better. Now, Jim Henson definitely had creative vision. I think we could all agree on that. He was definitely a pioneer in taking puppet characters and making people relate to them. He made you feel like they were living, breathing beings. He made the characters so believable that you welcomed them into your heart and made them part of your world. Jim Henson always kept a log of his activities. I find this really interesting. He kept a log of his activities, and his journal entries had overlapping ideas, and he was constantly thinking of and coming up with new and innovative ideas. Now, this image is of Patch Adams. The real Patch Adams, the Patch Adams that the movie was based off of with Robin Williams. And Patch Adams is truly a medical doctor in real life and a clown. He is a social activist. He has devoted 30 plus years to changing how we look to treat patients. He believes in treating the person and not necessarily the disease. He strives to make changes in America's health system. He's still doing that even to this day. Patch highlights the importance of laughter, joy, and creativity being vital to an individual's healing process. Let's take a quick see a quick snapshot of Patch Adams. Head on over to your materials section or the description below the YouTube video and click on Patch Adams. It's a little less than a minute, and just let me know when you're back and we'll move forward. Awesome, welcome back. So let's take a little bit of a look at the overall value of play. Okay, so first up, we're going to talk a little bit about motivation. So we are apparently not as predictable as you would think. When you are reviewing our Module 3 reading this week, you'll be introduced to Dan Pink, who is an American author and has written books about business, work, and management. He talks about the puzzle of motivation. We may think about giving out huge bonuses for employee accomplishments would encourage people to work harder towards their goals, resulting in even better accomplishments. However, science and research has shown us that the opposite is actually true. So why would that be? I want to ask you that. Why would that be? Why would huge bonuses not necessarily always motivate us to do better at work? Do you have any thoughts on that? So if we are just striving towards that bonus, towards the money sign, so to speak. Okay, I'm seeing. Oh, great! I see a hand raised. Let me go ahead and unmute you. Hi, LaCrystal.
Hello, how are you?
Good. How are you doing today?
Great.
So, share some thoughts with us. Why Why do you think huge bonuses would not necessarily always motivate us to do better at work?
I've worked at a place where they gave bonuses
Mm-hmm.
for, as an incentive for doing good at work, but then after like a quarter, they took it back if you didn't, um,
Oh.
perform the same way
Mm-hmm.
the next session. So it was at that point pointless, and it defeated the fact of morale went down after that. And so a
Mm-hmm.
lot of people also looked as if I should be making that money anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And so, so there's no point in working for it, trying to earn it when I should be making it anyway.
Right, exactly. That's interesting that like you said, you get that bonus, and then if you don't maintain that performance level that you were at in order to earn that, then it's like they go ahead and strip that from you. So then, like you said, it's kind of like, well, what's the point of that, because then to get to the next level, it's like you're continually pushing and pushing and pushing yourself, and so that's a lot of pressure and anxiety and other things that go along with that, for sure.
Yes, ma'am.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing, LaCrystal.
You're welcome.
So, exactly. And this brings us to the candle problem, which some of you may have already watched on LAO this week. So, in this experiment, participants were tasked with fixing a lit candle on a wall in a way so that the candle wax won't drip onto the table below, using only a box of matches and the box of thumbtacks. So just for fun, to see maybe who's been on the ball with our course content already this week, anybody that's in session right now, do you think you know how to do this? Can you already see what a solution might be to this problem as far as getting the candle attached to the wall? All right, I'm going to go ahead and unmute you, LaCrystal. So share what your solution would be to this problem.
My solution was to empty out the tacks and place a safety tack at the bottom of the box
Hmm.
and place the candle onto it so it wouldn't fall, and then tack the box along with the candle to the wall and light it.
And light it. Exactly, exactly. You're absolutely correct on the ball. All right, let me meet you back. So there were two test groups, and one was called the low drive group, and they were told that the study was testing problems to see which would be best for a later experiment. And they were offered no prize for their work, so hence the low drive. Then there was Dunker, um, considered the high drive group, and they were told that depending on how quickly they solve the problem, they can win $5 or $20, and only the top 25% would win these cash prizes. So basically, there were limited resources here, so they had to be on their game. So what was found was that the process of turning the task into a competition for limited resources created mild levels of stress in the subject. When the subject is under this type of stress, the fight or flight response kicks in, taking over the brain and the body. And basically, the creative thinking and the problem solving areas of the brain that we studied last week in the prefrontal cortex get shut down. So I have a hypothetical scenario for you. So you rock at your job, and the word on the street is that you're a top contender for a fat bonus. The fiscal year is coming up, deadline, and if someone can come up with the following year's marketing campaign, they get the bonus. So according to the results of the candle experiment, what do you think would happen here with this hypothetical situation? Any takers thinking about it? So test after retest continues to show that if the task is mechanical, like working on an assembly line, for example, then incentives work fine. However, the very second that thinking and creativity come into play, dangling that carrot in front of us no longer gets us running. So studies have also shown that the larger the reward, the poorer the performance. So just kind of along those same lines is that, like it's saying, that sort of mechanical, that, task-oriented type of work. Okay, having the price tag on that is one thing, but really when, our creativity comes and our thinking comes and becomes involved, that's no longer going to be the only motivation, the only drive. So Dan Pink goes on to discuss this further in the animated video about his book Drive. Higher money is not always a good incentive. So he tells businesses to pay people enough to take the issue of money completely off the table. That would be really nice. Wouldn't you all like that? I would like that. Take the money matter off the table. Pay people enough to where that's not going to be the issue. And so, because let's face it, everyone wants the money, right? So if we didn't have to worry about that, we're paid enough, that whole arena is, we don't even have to step into it as far as the discussion is concerned. But at the same time, don't just dangle the money in front of us thinking that it's going to be the best motivator at the end of the day. Science shows us that people really want three things. And that is going to be autonomy. They want to be self-directed. They don't want to be micromanaged. Next is going to be mastery. They want mastery, which is basically saying we have the urge to get better at stuff that we find fun and that we find satisfying. And we want to be the best at it. So a question or statement that comes to mind is, or a thought I should say is, did anyone start their journey here and, say, I want to get into entertainment business. I want to get into, the industry producing, and working, for other people, and I just want to fly under the radar, and I can't wait to, not be recognized for my work and live a sort of mediocre lifestyle, kind of just feeling uncertain about what I'm doing because I didn't take the time to learn it while I was in school. And the answer to that is going to be no, hopefully no, absolutely not. We want to get recognition and we want to make a name for ourselves, which brings us to number 3 is people want purpose and a reason that makes coming to work better. Companies that are flourishing are animated by this purpose motive. So a question that I want to throw out to you just to ponder would be, did autonomy, mastery, and purpose come into mind when you were picking out your career? And even if it wasn't coined at the time, of course, as autonomy, mastery, and purpose, now that we're talking about it, do the dots kind of connect? Yes, that's what I want. I want autonomy, mastery, and purpose in my career. So how do you stay motivated with your work when you also want to get paid? How do you keep your creativity levels up? Overcoming creative blocks, so to speak. And some of that might even be happening now as you're working through the class. Even though we have options every week for the challenge projects, you might be drawn to one project versus the other, but then also sort of finding that flow and that connection, getting over that creative block when it comes to producing. So Dan Pink makes a really good case for rethinking how we run our businesses, which leads us to the self-determination theory, since the research Dan Pink is citing supports the premise of this theory of motivation. So the self-determination theory states that people are geared towards this idea of personal growth and mastery because this helps them understand themselves. Our self-determination basically forms who we are as people. An example that I really like to go hand in hand with this is the idea that typically non-commissioned artwork is judged to be more creative and better overall than commissioned work. In other words, when you're creating something because you are self-determined to create it, your creative juices are flowing and the end result is better than if you're being told or if you're being asked or forced to create something. So maybe that resonates with some of you. Sorry about that. So next up is the fun theory, which can even be seen at work in this class. After all, it's called Psychology of Play, right? So this whole class is centered around learning about fun and having some fun, hopefully, too, throughout our journey in the course. So simply put, fun is the easiest way to change people's behavior. So I'd like to share a video with you because it's really the best way to show you where we're going with this. So just as it was playing on the screen, head on over to your materials section and click on piano stairs and take a couple minutes to watch that and then head on back. Welcome back. Yeah, pretty fun. I know that I would thoroughly enjoy taking the stairs more if I was able to do that every single time. All right, so let's talk a little bit about gamification. So along those same lines is the concept of gamification, which we glossed over in critical thinking, which is really just the use of game thinking and game mechanics as in a non-game context. So like making a staircase into a piano, for instance, in order to engage the users, in order to engage folks that were going to be taking the stairs. So gamification techniques really strive to leverage people's natural desire for achievement and self-expression. So I want you to think about what experiences you might have had with gamification to get you interested or engaged with, products, for instance, just as our, stairs example that we just watched in the clip. So can you think of any specific experiences that you've had with this concept, either personally or professionally? And if one comes to mind that you want to share, just let me know and you can hop on the mic. So think about that. Just think about everything that we come, in interaction with. I know that a funny example that I watched the other night, it didn't necessarily happen to me, although it would be pretty cool if all elevators had it, but getting onto the elevator, it was this snapshot from some organization, and basically a few people got together and they brought little musical instruments onto the elevator, and every time someone would get on the elevator, they would start playing a song and try to engage the riders in the elevator, as far as singing, as far as dancing, and so forth. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's a great one. Um, and so really just, any of those examples, any of those clips, anything to make something that we're going about on our daily basis fun. So gamification, I know that I used to I have a project option here in class where you could take some boring activity at home and turn it into something fun. And so I had a lot of parents that when I was doing that activity, they would turn recycling into a game and have like a leaderboard, for instance, and whoever recycled the most items at the end of the week got to pick Friday night dinner, for instance. And so it got the whole family engaged in recycling. And, something similar, could be done for chores around the house and so forth. So there's definitely lots of fun examples that we can come up with. All right, so here is a picture of a Google Dublin campus, and so as we're winding down, I wanted to do some fun stuff with our session today too, and I wanted to talk a little bit about some leaders in the play movement who have really done a fantastic job of really taking the whole idea of mixing play and work and merging them together. So on this leaderboard, so to speak, we've got Google and Zappos and Pixar, to name a few. And I'm not sure what you've maybe heard about these companies and their fun level, so to speak, and maybe a little bit perhaps about what they're doing differently. So Google's philosophy is to create the happiest, most productive workplace in the world. So I definitely wanted to share a quick video clip with you on the inside of Google. So head on over to your material section and click on Google and take a few moments to watch that video and then head back. All right, welcome back. So, employees design their own workstations, they get to scribble on walls, they play games. I mean, it looks like a lot of fun. Dogs strolling through the corridors alongside their masters. Google's success depends on innovation and collaboration. So everything we did was geared towards making it easy to talk. Basically, they really pushed the boundaries of where play ends and work begins. So this is another example. This is actually an image from Zappos, and they're playing ping pong at the office, taking a break in between tasks. I'm not sure if anyone has heard of Zappos. They started off being known for shoes basically, and they've evolved from there. Tony Hsieh started with earthworms, then greeting cards, slices of pizza. Basically, he was an entrepreneur since a very, very young age. He instilled in the company that it is all about Zappos culture because they want people whose personal values really match their core values. Some of the most fun include create fun and a little weirdness, do more with less, and deliver wow through service. So basically with Zappos, there are two interviews. And the first one is to see if you meet the qualifications, and then one to see if you fit in with their Zappos culture. Then at the end of the training, the end of the training that everyone attended, everyone receives this offer for money for the time that they spent in training, as well as a $2,000 bonus to quit now. Because essentially they don't want people who are there simply just for the paycheck. So, because remember what we learned about that oh my goodness, tongue twister, extrinsic motivation of money. It slows us down, right? It's not always the number one motivator, the only thing that's going to drive. So this is a cool image of Pixar, and Pixar promotes passion in the workplace by really honing in on leadership beliefs for their creative culture. People are linked together by level of importance. It's all about great teams with Pixar. So leaders get their power by helping others do what they do best. So they encourage people to try and fail and then try again. They hire, to quote them, they hire wacky, free-thinking, creative folks. And lastly, they make work really, really fun at the end of the day. So to me, I'm like, who wouldn't want to join one of these fun teams with everything that they're doing, the culture of their organization, etc.? So these companies all have innovative leaders. They aren't cookie cutter, so to speak. They have a fun atmosphere and they know who they're reaching out to, and they have a target for their goal. So this is what makes these companies shine. And I want to close this portion of our session asking you to think about how you are going to shine. Okay, so I wanted to take a moment to see if there's any questions with regards to the material and or any of our activities that are due this week. For those that are listening to the archive, definitely find me on instant message, send me a message through LAO, give me a call, email, etc. We can always connect for any questions or concerns that you're having. For LaCrystal and Shay, are there any questions or any concerns that you have right now that I can go ahead and be of support, and we can take some time to go over that right now? Okay, awesome. Not at the moment. Okay, so everything is going okay then. Of course, if anything comes up, don't hesitate to reach out to me. We have our initial discussion post, as in previous weeks, due tomorrow night, Wednesday evening. So definitely make sure to hop on there and make your initial discussion post. I'll give some feedback as far as our week 2 activities go. Definitely make sure that you are taking a look at what I'm looking for in your response post. Everyone did a really great job with their content-based responses in producing their scenarios and talking about the differences in them and how they could make adjustments. Just as a friendly reminder, just make sure that you're taking a look for what I'm looking in the response post. I am usually looking for more of a suggesting base or feedback based on your classmates' posts. So I just want to keep everybody eligible for full points, especially now that we're in weeks 3 and 4. I want you to be able to earn all of the points that are remaining. So just double check that before you make that post. And of course, if you were to miss our Wednesday initial discussion deadline, make sure you at least meet that final deadline this Sunday and make an additional response post. So you would be looking to make 3 response posts to your peers, and that'll help you recover that 10 late points for posting your initial post after that Wednesday deadline. Another thing that came about, not really came about, it's just something I want you guys to focus on, is just make sure that you're running a quick spelling and grammar check when it comes to your challenge projects with both your template responses, whether you're using a PDF or a Word document, etc. Just make sure that you're getting in the practice of that. It's something that I don't want to say it's not important in this class. Of course, it's important in regards to, your grade and rubric and so forth, but it becomes more imperative, of course, as you are getting into your core classes, working on, things that you're building for your portfolio. It'll be especially important if you take English class and don't have transfer credits for that. So just try to get into that practice. Any of the websites and the different tools and stuff that you're learning in this class, definitely make sure that you're bookmarking them, saving them. They'll definitely be of use for you in coming months. So that's exactly why we spend time on all of these things in class. So I really liked, something that I really liked about this past week's assignments is there were a lot of use of the images and the projects that you all put together. And so definitely continue to practice with using images in your work. And for some of you that might want to dabble in practicing with some audio, go ahead and do that too. Kind of play around, especially if there's been a web tool or some software that you've wanted to dabble in, definitely now's the time to do it. And also just another friendly reminder about making sure that you're citing any images that you're using in your projects. It's definitely important to get into the habit of that as well. So I did notate that for a couple of you. And again, these are all things that I'm highlighting to you because I want you to practice them, and then that way I'm helping, to set you up for success in moving in your courses forward from here. So definitely take the time to review your feedback from me on all your activities. And of course, if there's any questions, don't hesitate to reach out to me. So thank you all for coming today, and thank you for those that are listening in. And I look forward to seeing what you all create this week. And I hope to see you again next week for our final GTT session in week 4. Thanks so much for coming out.